Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a good evening. Wanted to do a video here to compare some of the smaller knives that I have in my collection, as well as have borrowed, notwithstanding this Medford Smooth Criminal, which I borrowed from my buddy Devin. Although I don't necessarily enjoy carrying such a small knife, I certainly do have knives that are on the smaller side of things in my collection, and here I just kind of wanted to go over, based on the ones that I own, what my observations are, the pros and cons, and hopefully this will help somebody out that's looking to maybe get their first EDC folder, so a smaller folder, or people that are thinking about spending some money and want to get my thoughts on the money they're about to spend. So we'll go over the stats for these knives, and then I have a few observations. So here we go. All right, the first knife that we're going to look at is the Medford Smooth Criminal. This one has an MSRP of $290. It features a 3-inch blade. This one is made in the US. It is S35 VN steel, 4 inches when it is closed. It has an aluminum chassis. It weighs 5 ounces, and the pivot is running on bearings. The next knife we're going to be looking at is the Benchmade Bugout. So this has an MSRP of $275 as is. It runs a 3¼ inch blade, so the biggest one out of all of these. It is also made in the United States. It is running M390 steel. It is 4.22 inches closed. It has what's called grivery handles, feels like aluminum. This one weighs 1.85 ounces, and it is running on washers. The next knife we're going to look at is the Half-Face Blades Cavner folder. This is the latest iteration of that. The MSRP on this one is $360. Again, this is the G10 inlay version, so it's a little bit cheaper. It features a 2.8-inch blade. Not sure where this one is made. We will call it somewhere in Asia. I'm 99.99% sure of that. It has an S45 VN blade. It is 3.625 inches closed, and I only know that because I measured it. We'll get into that in a second. And it is running on bearings. The next knife we're going to be looking at is the McNeese Mac 2. So the MSRP on this is $467. It has a 3-inch blade. It is made in the US of A. This particular version is in CPM 20CV. Closed, it is 3.625 inches. It features a titanium chassis. It weighs 3.32 ounces, and the pivot system is running on bearings. The next one is the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. It has an MSRP of $130. It has a 2.91-inch blade. It's made in the US. This version, realizing you can get it in a bunch of different ones. This is an older one from about 2013. This one's in 154 cm. It is 3.87 inches closed. It has nylon handles, steel liner. It weighs 2.81 ounces and is most definitely running on washers. And the last one we're going to be looking at from my collection is the Civivi Elementum. So the MSRP on this one is $50, so cheapest one in the collection. The blade is 2.96 inches. It is made in China. The steel on this one is D2. It's going to be 4.03 inches closed. G10 scales, steel liner, weighs 2.89 ounces, and is actually running on bearings. So those are the blades we're going to be looking at. Just want to give my thoughts, and I'm going to kind of, try to rate these guys. All right, so now that we have the specs out of the way, how this is going to work is I just kind of wanted to go through, least favorite to favorite, these knives as it stands. Number 6 on the list is actually going to have to be the Half-Face Blades Cav folder, which the frustrating thing about this one is there's not much info on it online. All the other knives that I've bought or see, you can always kind of get an idea for the specs, but Half-Face Blades definitely keeps it really close close to the chest, and I think that that's kind of interesting. I'll post actually right here the description that luckily my buddy scooped up when he ended up buying one. But I thought it was funny that they write at the bottom that they don't have the weight, don't have the overall length, don't have like a lot of like the critical information that people would want before they spend $360 on a knife. But they do say that this takes a T10 Torx bit right here, and you can adjust the action and you can loosen it or tighten it with that T10. So who knew? You can not only just loosen it, you can tighten it as well. So I also really do find that like with this knife, so again, it's the smallest one of the group, 2.8-inch blade. The handle on this, it's like, I don't know who this was made for. Like, I really don't. And if I pick up any of my other knives, like we'll just call it a Benchmade Bugout, you can just see, like, I mean, the handle's even thicker on that. And then the knife that most closely resembles this Half-Face Blades Cavner folder is this McNeese PM2. And, like, even though the blade stock is very similar, if not exactly the same, the handle on it is so much more usable. I don't have a problem with the size of the blade being 2.8 inches, but that handle size, it's like, I don't know, it's like Happy Meal size. Like, you need something that you can actually like grip in your hand, and you really don't have it with this knife. I also think that the price is a huge problem for me. Like, they don't even write where this thing is made on their website. I tried to call them, and then I also ended up emailing them, so more to follow maybe. But from what I've heard, and I have a pretty good source to let me know that, this is assembled in the US, but it's going to be everything sourced from Asia. So once I get that information, I'll definitely pass it on to you all. But again, this is going to be $360, and if that wasn't bad enough, the fact that, Half-Face Blades, and I actually think it's kind of funny, like when people are trying to sell Half-Face Blades, they'll always include the description of what the knife actually is, and no one that I've seen that has ever sold one of these or one of the customs or anything like that includes the price they paid for it, just because how would you be able to price gouge or flip anything if you actually put what you paid for it? So that's kind of question mark for me. The only thing that kind of offsets the price of these is the inlay. So this one is the G10 version, but they also do a carbon fiber one that I think is about $20 to $30 more expensive than this one. But this is just, if you had like a base model, this would be it. But I don't know, I just thought that was kind of interesting, and also keep in mind that like even a cursory search of eBay as well as what these things go for on the secondary market, they're getting a lot of times 2 times the MSRP. So you're looking at $550 to $600, and go buy them. The other interesting thing that I noticed, and I did try to compare like my other folding knives to like the D10 on this, like what I really can't figure out for the price is just how like sticky this thing is. So the D10 is definitely in there. It's it is running on bearings, but you're good with opening it till you get about here, and then it wants to stay in this position. Like, this is where the D10 kind of drops off. And in order to open it or close it, you have to overcome this, and it actually ends up pushing the lock bar out. So honestly, like looking at this thing, it's not a good design, and that's really frustrating because I know people like, I mean, if you have I don't know what we'll call it, but some sort of like sales model where you don't have to list like the weight of it, open, close, whatever, what it's running, and you're just like, yeah, here it is, like buy this thing for $360, idiot. Like, that's kind of the attitude that I get with this knife, and I love Half-Face Blades, fixed blades, but yeah, this folder is kind of tough for the price. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think honestly, like what makes people buy these things, since it's on a drop, like you don't even have time to, like, they don't release the specs of this until the day that it's released, and then like even doing a cursory Google search, like they might give you a link to Half-Face Blades, you won't be able to see what the specs are on this thing, and so that just kind of like further punctuates the fact that people are blindly purchasing this. They don't know what they're getting into, but they know that there's that logo on it, and so they're like, let's go. But yeah, so all in all, this is going to be number 6 for me out of the 6. I also think that the pocket clip on this, like it's really cool. It's an arrow. I get it. So the logo for Half Face Blades is a Native American. Native Americans use arrows. I get it. It doesn't make sense. Like aside from that little like, that's kind of cool. It doesn't make sense. So as you can tell, I'm not a huge fan of this blade. If you can go in cheap for drop price, maybe I could see it happening. Maybe it would be worth your money, but as it stands, not too impressed. So the next one on my list, kind of going down from worst to best, is going to be this Benchmade Mini Griptilian, which I've had this for a very long time. I bought this at Half Moon Outfitters in Charleston, South Carolina, when I was at school at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Love the yellow handles. I know it's not for everyone, but you drop this thing, you can actually find it. This is one of those knives that if I wouldn't care if I lost this thing, let's be honest. And it is in 154 cm, kind of old. It's a Malpurdue design, but I really do love it. Like, I mean, I like how it has like the Spidey hole in it, has the axis lock. I think for a small knife, and again, at the price point, this is $130, like, you really can't beat it, and that kind of frustrates me because like I love more expensive knives. I love knives that are like one-off, customs, mid-tex, whatever, but do I ever need a knife that's better than this? Probably not. I would just say that like kind of the downside of this one, like from getting the Benchmade Bugout, it's not as fidget friendly as that one, and that's cool to me now. Like I'm a fan of that. The next one on the list is going to be the Civivi Elementum, and I honestly, like, I bought this one kind of out of spite. Like, this was $50 on Amazon, and I was like, okay, like, I've never heard of this company before. Like, what does it have to offer? I'm continually impressed with this knife for what it is. Again, it's running on bearings. Like, I love the fit and finish. It's not the thickest blade stock, but I don't know. Like, the other, like, pro for this one, too, is the pocket clip. Love the deep carry pocket clip. It has G10 handles. It's super lightweight. Like, if you don't have one of these, like, get one. And as soon as I picked this up out of my gun safe, I was like, man, I need to carry this one more because it's awesome. But that's gonna be coming in at the next one for me. The next one that I wanted to review or cover here in the list, so this is going to be number 3. This is going to be the Medford. This is the Smooth Criminal, which my buddy Devin, bless his heart, let me borrow this one. I really do like it. I mean, it's kind of it's marketed as Medford's, like, made in the U.S. but under $300 knife, and it's really impressive, guys. I mean, like, the steel on here, so S35VN, like, it's beautiful. It does have aluminum handles. They put a lanyard hole here, which is actually it's pretty obtrusive, actually. They spent a lot of time working on this lanyard hole. It is a button lock, but they do make an auto version of this obviously just being the button lock. The only downside to this one and why it isn't, like, higher in my list is the fact that I don't know if it's a mechanical advantage thing, but you almost, like, need to do a little, like, wrist flick. Like, you can't get this thing to fire on your fingers merit alone. Like, you kind of gotta put more into it until it's, like, warmed up. But I don't know. I like this knife. As far as Medfords go, it's very affordable. I think it's like a beautiful, useful blade. They did a great job of not putting too big of a blade on here and then, like, too small of a handle. Like, it feels very comfortable. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is one that I would carry just because, like I said, I can handle bigger handled, larger blades. But I think as far as this, like, realm of the around 3-inch goes, it's really impressive. So again, if you can pick one of these up, check it out for sure. Number 2 for me is going to be the Benchmade Bugout, and I'm new to the Bugout. I have 2 of them right now. This one's in M390. You've seen it before. It's the largest one out of my collection of small knives, but I really don't think you can beat the weight of this. At 1.85 ounces, this thing it's stupid light. Like, you can't beat it. I love that it's M390 steel. Love M390. The fidget value is crazy. Like I'm pretty used to like the axis lock, but being able to like flick it with your pointer finger or even like your thumb to open it. This thing, I mean, it's a complete package. Like I really do think that if you weren't a knife person and you're like, oh, I want one knife that'll, serve my purposes, this could definitely be it. I also think like, yeah, for the price, this is $275. This is one of the most like accurately priced US knives I've seen. So definitely don't sleep on the Benchmade Bugout. Like they're awesome, but I would caution you like anything, you can do a lot of like customizations to them, and people end up turning these into $250-$300 knives. Like just get the one that you want, buy that one, and be good with it. Like I love this thing. I think it's really cool. I'm happy I was able to pick it up. The only downside to this one is like it is so slim in the blade stock. Again, like compared, this might be a bad example. I'll compare it to like the Medford. So it's very slim blade stock there, but again, like out of a 3-inch, 3 1/4 inch knife, like I'm not looking for like girth. There's nothing where I'm afraid I'm gonna snap a blade with a 3-inch task, so to speak. So I don't know. I think that's definitely worth mentioning. All right, and the last knife out of this 2.8 to 3.25 inch showdown. My favorite one's going to be the McNeese Mac 2, and realizing that this is certainly more expensive. The MSRP is $467. These can be had on the secondary market for pretty cheap. I think I paid about $230 for this one. This one's in 20 CV, so it's not Magna Cut or anything like that, but I love the ratios. This thing is just, it's so smooth. Like I love carrying this thing, and I have been finding more and more, if I'm looking for a smaller knife to carry, this is the one that I'm carrying. I think that, contrasting to the Cav folder, just it's much more proportionate as far as the blade goes to the handle. You can even check out the pocket clip there, like much more useful, and I really appreciate that, like the thought that went into this knife, like realizing it's a mid-tech made in the US. A little bit more pricey, but certainly worth it. As I said before too, like out of all of these, this is my favorite pocket clip. Realizing it's not a deep carry clip, I love the spoon design of it, which this carries over to the 3.5-inch McNeese PM2 as well. But this thing sits in your pocket so comfortably. What also kind of made this a winner for me was the fact that it just has these T8 Torx bits. So one right here, then two back here. It has cage bearings. I took this thing down the day that I got it and cleaned it, and couldn't be happier. Like the action is crazy now, and I like that about a knife. Like I feel like sometimes you get into ones that there's way too much going on, they can be a little bit daunting. This one with 3 screws was down. Everything stayed, I didn't have bearings rolling around or anything like that. I could use some rubbing alcohol, a little bit of, oil, get this thing back up and running perfectly. Like I love this thing right now. The last pro for me with this one, and kind of what made it the winner in this category, was just the fidget factor. And since I've cleaned it up, being able to flick this thing with my thumb as well as, my pointer finger, like I love it. I find myself when I am carrying this knife, again, it's not very obtrusive, it's very small, just being able to fire this thing over and over again, and the more I fire it, the better. So that concludes kind of my showdown of these smaller knives that I own. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see you next time.